I was ready when we were starting. Ta-da!
Hey, cold start. Welcome everyone to Co-op Guild. This is our co-op chat, which is our weekly live chat talking about various board game topics. So, and I see lots of you already here. So, hey, Jan, how's it going? How's the Palooza going over there? So far, so good.
Help me.
Help me, blink twice. I should help. Hey, Lane. Yeah, Lane, you got a really good hit on boss today. That was awesome. And Ryan, admits can roll well digitally. You know how that feels, trust me.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know what that's like at all.
Yeah, works here.
King Dice Roller.
Okay, I gotta tell you a quick story. So, program the boss battler, I had to really stop myself to put custom code that says, hey, if Derek is rolling, set dice to 1.
That would have been awesome.
I was really tempted to do that, or like negative value just to mess with it. Like, how's that work?
No, it's only if it's
my
Derek
God.
that's -1.
Exactly.
Wait, that's not normal?
Hey, Greg. Who else we got here? Greg, Elaine. That's cool.
If I knew you could do that, Steve, I would have paid you to do it.
This is how much they care about me, y'all. This is how much they care about me.
Derek, I would at least give you a 2.
Well, I've been watching a Mr. President playthrough, and I'll tell you, it's interesting because you actually do have a wide spectrum of dice rolls. Like
Oh,
from
my
high to low.
friend.
So it's not just all low rolls. The
Mhm.
problem is just get them in the wrong time.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh, my friend. Keep watching. Something interesting will happen in one of those episodes that
Right.
truly shows the dice rolling.
Great. Lax tournament today, so missed most of it, but we'll catch later. No problem, Greg. Thanks for stopping by. So, Successful Geeks here. Hey, aloha. How's it going? Awesome. Okay. Hey, Stacy. Morning.
Dicey!
Appreciate it, Jan. Speaking of which, I did change that subscription notice, so that does say like now on it. So,
I'm thumbing.
dummy, yeah.
I'm gonna
What?
thumb somebody. I'm giving thumbs to somebody today.
Baron has the best reaction.
I love Jen's face. So it from a smile to it. Wait, what?
I thought this was family friendly. It's pretty early.
What? He said thumbs. I'm thumbing. I'm thumbing Steve today. There we go.
You do you, boo.
Okay, let's jump. Oh, a lot of people supporting. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going?
Hi.
Welcome.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Topic today, this week, I wanted to talk about war themes, and this kind of stems from last co-op chat we had. We were talking about boss battlers and talking about like what makes a boss battler, all that fun stuff. And at the end of that conversation, Derek happened to mention how games with war themes tend to, I don't know, push you away, not draw you in. I don't know how you want to phrase that. So I kind of want to explore that because I've heard that from lots of people, and I want to like figure out like why, what are we talking about when we talk about war themed games and war games, and what are the possible reasons for feeling that way. So all right, let's jump into it.
I don't like violence.
Wait, don't you like this war of mine?
I
That's
haven't
not
played
valid,
it yet.
though, is it?
What?
But that's about
Yeah,
surviving.
As soon as you stop at the front door, you get shot by a sniper.
You get shot, but you're not shooting them, right?
Yeah, like I'm not trying.
And when you go out on things, you actually
But
have to
that's
fight for your life
self-defense. That's not
sometimes.
trying to. Anyway, I was just trying to be cute.
Oh,
But,
okay.
obviously, as a
What?
Sorry,
Okay, so
go ahead,
starting
Jen.
off-
Sorry.
We're starting off the co-op chat not with truth, but with lies and cute.
I thought that's why I was here.
Oh, that's right.
But
That's
yeah,
actually probably a pretty key theme, though, is that people, one of the things is people don't like violence or realize violence, like stuff that really is a thing that could be happening or has happened or something like that, where when you're in outer space shooting space aliens, it's not something that's happened. It's not something that, well, it probably happened in the future because I'm sure someday we'll find the alien species, but that's just,
they'll find us.
Well, okay. I'm curious though, Baron.
I agree with that part. Yeah.
Let's say you know, next 5 years we find aliens and we wind up shooting aliens in space, so it becomes real. Let's say that becomes real. Does your opinion then change?
Well, then I'd have to remove some of the games.
I mean, are we talking like Independence Day? Or are we talking ET? Like, because one
That
I'm
won't
okay
matter for
with,
Kim.
the other
Kim
one
hates ET.
makes me cry.
One makes me cry.
Oh, come
I
on,
think-
ET doesn't make you cry?
I
That
think
can't just be me.
I think war themed games, I don't know. So you put any, for instance, like with Undaunted, I hear it's a really great game, but as soon as I saw it was like World War II themed, I was like,
Yeah, why?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not about the violence. Violent games don't bug me. I think it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of dive into. Successful Geek has an interesting comment. I pull this up. It said, war themes push me away too, which seems odd since I'm a veteran. I would think I would be interested, but to me, war is the final breakdown of civilization. I've never seen war as glorious or anything. I do agree with that, and
No, I typically like games that set humanity against a terrible fate. Frostpunk, This War of Mine, like there's suffrage in those games.
So let me talk about war themed games and war games in general. Let's kind of set that stage a little bit. So there are war games out there, which is like, hey, let's recreate Battle of the Bulge with chits on the table, you're looking up tables.
measure 3 meters is 30 miles.
Votes
and
for
stuff.
Women is a
Sometimes
war
those are
game.
miniature games, but that's a little bit different.
Same.
Okay.
But I'm talking
Like
about
the one we played.
war games where you've got tables and charts and all that stuff,
Yep. That's
So-
a very common style of war game.
Right, and definitely chits are very popular in that style, right?
Where you have chips that have like 2 soldiers on them, and then like as you're firing through the tables, they flip to one, then they move them, and then you can add some from a cup for reinforcements. And yes, this is a very common. And I shouldn't say common. This is the war games I remember growing up that were out there available to us.
Yeah. Yep. So that is like one style of game. Then there's war themed games, which aren't that style, but they have the theme of war in them in some way, shape, or form. Like I would say what you mentioned, Undaunted it's not a war game in that normal sense, but it's a war themed game because it's like a reverse deck builder type thing.
Okay.
So it's got a different system going on to it. So I kind of want to break that distinction a little bit, because there's so many war games out there. There's a ton of them, in a lot of different varieties. And those games, I think some people would enjoy. It was a different theme potentially. But there's also just war theme games, which is a whole nother thing completely. So Stacy mentioned, I'm not a fan of them either. Wars have actual death, obviously. Mythical games, death is silly. So here's the thing with me. Like when you brought up Frostpunk, right? Or actually, no, War of Mine is a better example. I am not interested in War of Mine due to the realistic nature of that.
And I like it because it's a realistic nature. And I think, like, for me, I prefer that they're... My thing is, when they talk about war games, they talk about, one side versus the other. I want the stories of the people caught in the middle. And this War of Mine gives me that.
Yeah, I was saying, to me, like, this War of Mine's different because it's focusing on the just everyday person, not the major powers that are vying for power. It's more about that it's supposed to invoke the empathy in us for the people that get caught up in these situations, which for me is why I do own the board game and the video game and have played neither, because I'll probably cry. But to me, that is kind of the difference, where I would be more likely to play something like that versus, actually, I shouldn't say I wouldn't play a war game because also history. But I do think there's a huge difference in that side of, are you playing this kind of story driven, focus on the people that get caught up on it, or are you the person that's sending people out and like killing innocent people? Because I'm not trying to kill innocent people in any game.
That's a good point Jen brought up, because this War of Mine tells a story. Frostpunk tells a story. War games don't.
They do.
Not to me. For me, they don't tell a story.
Yeah.
Whenever they're part and parcel, it's just kind of...
Sure.
it is. I mean, you have certain things where you have to complete a mission, and it's doing stories like a dungeon crawl based style of a war game.
No,
but for me, it's like
the story is actual history. That's the difference. Like, here is the situation that was at hand, and here's where things were, and here's how it was approached in history. But let's explore an alternate version of it, based on your own choices.
But is there kind of a carried out thing, or is there just a mission to get done and then you're done?
A campaign? Well, maybe it's campaigns.
No, I mean like destroy the enemy or take this hill or do this, but there's no story other than what was around before you started playing.
Oh, you want like narrative elements in the game.
This War of Mine is a huge narrative.
They do have those as well, but that's not like the normal war game per se.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want, really. Yeah. But
I don't know.
But like, I want to get to what Jen mentioned though, because she was talking about focusing on the suffering of people per se.
Well, I mean, I don't.
How do you? Sorry, say it again.
I was just saying that it focuses on the people that are actually caught up,
right.
Everyday person, not the people that are calling the shots or the people in power, the people that actually decide to go to the war, not to people that fight in the war, but the families and the individuals that now are suffering as a result of which, I mean, obviously is happening in quite a few places throughout the world at the moment. So like, I think to me, that's a very different game than playing an area control war game type thing that's based on whatever war of the flavor of the month.
Sure.
Yes, there's a lot of really great comments out there, but highlighting Yogi Bear says everyone loses in real wars, but in fantasy there usually is a nice clear bad guy. I mean, you think about Lord of the Rings and things like Sauron. I mean, let's see here, I could be the orcs, and there is a war game built on that. It's called War of the Ring. Colin has it. He loves it. It's a great game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but that game would be a different. Like Yogi is saying, there is a bad guy. Sauron is the bad guy. I mean, he is like, there's nothing good about him at all. I mean, there's not, and orcs are technically bad. I mean, sure, if you wanted to write a book from the orcs' perspective, it would probably have a different story to it, but that's not how this story has been laid out. So I think that's also another thing that can help people, is that there is a lot of that could draw people away from war games. There's a lot of like, they're all humans. There's not like, oh, hey, there's this giant, huge bad guy with an evil claw hand coming to try to take over the world. I mean, it's not like that. I mean, it's like these are, I mean, sure, it's opposing factions based on something that's happened that causes them to do this. And so it can be a little bit, it can be a lot more, it's the realistic concept of it. And reliving things, even though a lot of them are based in history, it's still reliving those histories. You know what I mean?
But I think that so War of the Rings, all these other ones that are like, if you there is, I mean, if you think about from the world perspective, if you think about World War II, there was a big bad.
Yes.
And so I agree with that.
There's a big bad guy, but technically it's all, I'm breaking it down even farther to the fact that sure, there was a bad guy, but that bad guy was a human. I mean, we were all humans. It's all that same,
my empathy pretty much ends on that one though.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I think it's a little bit easier to even go one step farther and make sure you're playing something that has that, like, indistinguishable bad guy that's like this huge, like I said, a huge guy with like that's been mutated and clawed arm, and he's
just exaggerated bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's having that exaggeration of almost the same concept. I mean, you could almost put Hitler as this big clawed mutant guy and like stuff like that, but I think it's the idea of everybody being human at that point in these war games, and of course a lot of the war games don't really put those individuals into it. It's usually like Steve's saying, like it's Tank Division 4. It's almost less personable when you're playing those type of war games. And you have Regiment 6 and Regiment 7 and Regiment 8, and you have Tank Division 3 and you have Panzer Division 7 and 6, and they're over here. So like all of a sudden you're kind of just being the general, as opposed to like some of the other things you're saying. Bring it more personal, where you're the person in between the war. You're something that you're a story behind the person that's part of that. A lot of those are a lot less like that.
Well, so I think that's where I guess my question for you, Steve, is so you like war games. So
sometimes.
Okay. Because
I don't like the tables and stuff. They get kind of
minus the tables. Let's just say game dealing with World War II that has themes you like.
Yeah, because we're talking about you talk about war themes.
War themes.
Okay, fine.
So you like the war theme, right? So what? My thing is there's still a lot of hard decision making. Let's say it's not down to personal in terms of, okay, well, this meeple's name is Tim, right?
I like the personal thing though.
But by and large, I feel that the theme takes it from a higher abstract view, and you're the general or you're the commander or you're something, and you're moving. There's some games that have you do individualize, but by and large, it's from a higher view.
No.
The question I'm getting to though is.
Orange is a good example. Like that one, I enjoy learning about the different resistance fighters in that time.
And I backed it because I was interested in like the actual history, the people that were involved.
Okay,
exactly.
Okay. So
I might also just be a weird case because.
So when we abstract from that and we go to a fantasy theme, why does Frostpunk not work for you?
Because I don't like dealing with that moral decision space.
But you do that in war.
I am not doing child labor in war, right?
No, but someone is suffering.
Orange shall overcome.
But not in the game you're playing, someone isn't suffering.
Even
though the overall theme of the war game is someone suffering.
I'm not making a decision for them to suffer in that game. I'm literally trying to stop people suffering by moving people to safety and rescuing people and stuff like that. People are suffering around me, yes.
Okay.
But it is not me that's doing it.
All right, let me bring up another game. Underground Railroad. People are suffering in that game. The decisions you make will cause specific cubes to suffer, to be removed from the board, or to be sent back to a thing.
Kind of, yes. But it's not my choice to do it. It is a result of the actions. If I had a complete choice, I would not choose that to happen, right? But obviously you can't, right? Because the game is making that happen on my view.
But it's not fully through your decision space that makes that happen.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like in something in This War of Mine, you're opening up a storybook, you're reading like, oh hey, you found an abandoned apartment, and you start looking for food, and all of a sudden you hear something in the room. You open the door, there's a baby crying in the thing.
I need absolute power to stop suffering. Exactly. You got it.
That's where all of a sudden your decision makes.
Well, so that would, I can understand why Frostpunk and This War of Mine wouldn't appeal.
Well, to me, it's actually worse because it's one thing to have like, let's use the child labor for example in Frostpunk. Like, it doesn't have to be in the game because it's a fantasy game. The people or whoever chose to put that in the game, right? As opposed to a historical game, if you put like, let's say there's another equivalent situation with child labor, that was real. You put in the game not because you choose to, but you're reflecting on the actual history,
and that would be okay.
And to me, that there's a difference there. Like, I choose to have this bad thing in the game, or I choose to have the bad game in the game because I'm representing something.
So you want to tell the true story.
I want to tell the true story. Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, I don't know. If I see anything where it's like, all right, these are military soldiers, I'm like,
But I do get everyone's point, like, about the whole like glorifying war, right? That is a really tough thing. You don't want to glorify it.
My problem is that doesn't bug me.
Okay.
Like, if you take any war game and you switch it to fantasy or sci-fi or whatever theme, exact same thing, I'm fine to play it. As soon as you put World War II in it,
right,
I'm like, And it's not because I feel bad because it's, oh, this is a horrible thing that happened. It is. I don't want to downplay that. It's just more.
So I have an idea, because I kind of feel that way too, but it's for a very different reason that has not been brought up yet.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes we're talking to people who are really into, especially World War II history, they tend to be very knowledgeable. Like, oh, that Sherman tank has that, whatever, blah, 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 +5, you know what I'm trying to say. They like super know their stuff. And
that was my major, Steve. Thank you for bringing that up.
Was it? So, but like sometimes when people are into that, they could come off, I'm going to use the word pretentious, I guess, or kind of like they can can be very off-putting to be around sometimes, where they like playing a little bit of a know-it-all type thing, right?
I haven't run into that.
And so, like, when playing, if I was playing a war game with somebody like that, and like, well, technically this should be this way. As I'm playing the game, well, technically this should not be that way, and that would really push me away from that. Or obviously back in this time, this is how they played it, and like, that's cool, but there's a time and place to have those discussions, and in a game environment, I don't always want that. You know what I'm trying to say? So sometimes I feel like because I enjoy learning about the stories from history, but I'm not a historian, right? I don't know this knowledge.
So you sometimes get turned off in games that people that have learned so much about this game, or that something that it's like now, like, you could almost port this to almost any game now. I mean, this is something you could port. I mean, I played multiple collectible card games where it's like, oh, I can't believe you put that in there, because you could notice how you can do this with this and this, and see how this card's great because it combos with this and this. I'm like, I don't even know what that card is.
Right.
And then things like that, or if you're playing other games where there's so much to the game. I think that's the other part of it. There's so much to the game. People like Derek is doing Mr. President. I'm planning to do Mr. President. There are so many outcomes in that game. Once you go past like the very first turn of that game, nobody's game is the same. There is no way anybody's game can be the same, right? But you're having to make these choices, and they're probably never suboptimal, but you're just going with what you think is right. But I'm sure there's people out there that have built their life on these type of things, like that same Mr. President or World War II, or even Magic the Gathering or something, where they have so much that in them that they love it. See, like, I think I'm like you guys, where I have like this vast knowledge of almost everything. Okay, let me try that again, because that's not very egotistical. I have I'm not super, like, I don't know a ton about one thing. I have that like whole like knowledge base that I feel I know a little bit about most things.
Sure.
But I'm not specialized in a certain thing. I guess nursing, I probably am pretty specialized in.
I hope so.
But and when it comes to war games, if you look at my collection, I do have some. They're actually kind of near the back, and I haven't played them in a long time, and I actually feel bad about that. But I'm getting to the point now where I can see. And also, three things. One, I don't know anybody to play them with me. Two, but I think Ridley's about to, because we just started playing Star Wars Rebellion, and he's loving it, and we've already played it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So I could bring out like Axis and Allies. He might enjoy that. It's one of the ones I have back there. And 3, I think one of the reasons why Steve kind of gravitates towards likes and enjoys kind of war themed games is, if you look at it, if there are any cooperative war games, 90% of them are stealth based.
This is one I have. There's a lot of non-stealth based games.
You don't want
but when it comes to that theme, unless it's moving around chips, and unless it's like looking at tables, most of them are stealth based. We're going to sneak into this facility and stop the bomb.
That's an interesting thing Jan says.
And mostly go to games for entertainment, fun, and laugh. By default, these don't come easily in war, which is it's true, yeah. But that gets to like the only reason why, getting back to the war mind, I haven't gravitated towards it as much, because I'm not always in that mood, right? Sometimes I am, where I want to explore things and learn about things, but that's not always part of it.
But I mean, you know me. You and I have had like lots of conversations about tough topics, and my thing is, I like the hard topics. I love talking about that stuff, like finding out the stories of the people who were in the middle, finding out what they went through, like just kind of being in that. That stuff, it interests me, and so it's more whenever it's okay, Axis versus Allies, or this person versus this person at a high level, I think I lose interest in that, because I don't care about their piddly little problems that cause massive suffrage, but I do care to hear and want to talk about the stories of the people who were trapped in the middle.
Sure.
You see what I mean? Like, and I think maybe that's where war games lose me, is that the war came about because of some narcissistic jerk.
Sure.
But I want to hear the stories of the people that are going through it and how they come out in the end.
Okay.
It's probably the reason why I really love Schindler's List too. Like, it's a hard movie, but I love it because it's the stories. So I don't know. And so maybe
so you don't. Well, hold on. Let me just propose a V sabotage real quick. So V sabotage you have actually not even that. Let's go back to Orange Shall Overcome. So these are stories of people caught in war.
I think that interests me about Orange Shall Overcome.
Okay.
I think the mechanics is what throw me on that
That's
game.
fair. That's fair.
So, but
Yeah.
I think that's what interests me about Orange Shall Overcome is how are they navigating the space that they're in.
Sure.
But then when I played it that one time, I was like, the mechanics were
Yeah.
And that's what didn't gel.
Yeah. So, seen lots of
What
the other one Yogi mentions, King of Ruins, pretty dark stuff. That's another one like
Tainted Grail?
Yeah, Tainted Grail. Kings, where I avoided due to the dark stuff. Like I didn't want to deal with that.
I'm trying to think of what
I love dark stuff.
Yeah.
See, I find it interesting because we're talking like I don't want the
Like,
war stuff.
bring
'cause
me
it's
all,
dark, right?
like,
But also I gravitate towards
Tainted Grail,
the
bring it.
dark
Let's
stuff, right?
go.
Yeah. I mean, to me the I guess the goodness is in the dirty. I guess that's the best way for me to battle there.
But it's not working.
The hand comes out from the street. That's
One
hitting me.
thing I want to point out about this, like the theme of war, though, as somebody who's obviously currently in school for history and whatever, history in general is not everybody's favorite subject.
Yeah,
so
sure.
then the fact that war in general is kind of like a sub part of studying history, if people already don't like studying history or are not interested in history to begin with, they're probably even less likely to got to the point of studying history where World War I or II or Civil War, whatever, might be interesting as well. Because love history, war is not my favorite parts to study, and especially studying parts of war that are literally just like, this is where this battle happened, this is where this battle happened, this is this type of unit, this is the strategy this person used. So if that is part of war gaming and that was never something you were interested in in your entire life, it would make sense that people would just not gravitate towards either the subject matter or that whole breakdown of military strategy. I know nothing about military strategy. Outside of when I was super little, my dad played a video game that was on the Civil War. So when we went to Gettysburg, I literally knew every location and the battles that happened at Gettysburg. But outside of that, I cannot probably, outside of some very major ones, in a lot of wars, I could not tell you any strategies, who fought when, where, what, how, why. Well, okay, of course,
I'm just
the why.
the opposite.
Let me ask you
I'm
a question,
100%
Jen,
the
then,
opposite
because you're
because
talking
I
about,
actually am a 20th century and European Russian history major with a religion and music minor. That was all I did. 100%. That's all I did.
And I mean, I know there are a lot of people, but I just think it's two things that if you're not interested in one or the other, because they're connected, but if you already don't really care about history and you don't see why it's important, then you might not want to play a game that is an actual war game, not just the theme of this type of strategy.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So, I assume that would be the same for a fantasy game, right? Fantasy game with troops movement. Would you feel the same way, Jen? You're not interested due to the...
Yeah, I mean, for me, for that type of strategy or area control, those kinds of things, to me, it doesn't matter what the theme is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless it's cute little critters. Maybe actually, I've never played Root, but
bunnies versus deer.
Bunnies versus deer.
But okay, let me say one thing. Root would probably be the one I would be most likely to try, but since obviously, but then people are so into Root, kind of like you were saying earlier, that Root, I heard it was one of those games that people that are good at it are good at it. Yeah. And if you're at a table with the people that are already good at it and you've never played it, this is probably not going to be your best experience.
Correct.
Kind of saying what you were saying earlier about people that are so into a game and know every little detail or a theme that it ends up maybe not being that enjoyable for everybody else at the table.
I think that can happen in a lot of competitive games. If you have a game that you're really good at, you're really good at it. I mean, for example, I bring this up. I've said this before. I used to play Axis and Allies with a buddy of mine at college. We used to play usually about every other day. We would play an entire game of Axis and Allies, and we would only play the first 2 turns, because after those first 2 turns, we knew exactly how the outcome of the game was going to be, no matter how, unless all of a sudden every dice god on the planet decided to turn towards us and go, we knew exactly how these games were going to end, because we'd already gotten to that point. Like, okay, I'm going to build this and attack here. Okay, well, I didn't get Karlia, so that means in then 3 turns you're going to have enough Russian troops to come back through and take Eastern Germany and get into Berlin, because I don't have the monetary numbers I need to be able to continue my war fund, because I didn't get Karlia in the first turn. I'm like, I can totally get that. So I think, and I think that's kind of true in a lot of games that are competitive and have a set way things are set up. Now, Ridley and I have been playing Star Wars. What's that one? Rebellion. And
which I do have and never played.
But that one is really good, because it's not like you do have like 2 forces set up exactly the same way, but there's not like an outcome of, oh, hey, just go kill. The outcome is to get to the rebel base of the Empire, and the rebels are to not get destroyed, right? But there is a way more random way that game plays out, as opposed to all this stuff is set up. You've this amount of money. Like, there's always a set way of games being set up, and then things play out. Like, again, bring up Mr. President. You have set it up exactly the same way. If you do the like standard setup, but once you get past turn 1, no matter what you do, it's always going to be different. I mean, it's just all of a sudden this whole game just completely flies and starts. It's mass experience. Where in some of the war games, you have a lot of things set up exactly the same, and unless there's an element of chance that starts the game, I think you see a lot of those games being able to be like, oh, hey, if I don't, I know that I've played this 603 times, and if I don't take care of that Panzer division up on the top, that thing is going to get powerful and come down for me. So I have to make sure to take that out. But if I'd never played before, I would know that all of a sudden here comes a blitzkrieg across the board, right? So I don't know what I'm saying at all.
Well, so Jen brought up another really great point that resonated with me. I think the war themed games I don't mind. I think here's the reason why. When she was talking
war themed versus war games, got it.
Well, here's this bit. So as she was talking about like, well, history and war and all this other stuff, and people aren't interested in it. And I realized something that that came up for me, that reminded me that came up a little while ago, is American history is boring to me. It's a history of industry. That's it. It's industry. But when you go to the history of the European wars and the African wars and all those things that set up around that, I love that subject. And any game that has to do with that, like let's say, okay, well, it's the Roman Empire marching against the Gauls. I'd play that.
I'm with you. Ancient history, I like.
But history that does not have to do with American history, I loved humanities because of that stuff. Whenever we got onto the pre-colonization of the US, I loved all that stuff. And then as soon as we got over to it, it became a history of industry, and it became boring. And so whenever Jen was saying, well, nobody likes history in class, I was like,
I should have said in America, because
well,
it's like a really
point, and that was the point for me where history, I stopped liking it, was US history. Because there were lots of conflicts. There was lots of oppression, still is. There was a lot of other things that happened. However, the entirety of U.S. history could be boiled down to it's a history of industry.
Kind of.
As soon as they came over here, they started tearing crap up.
So, the part of U.S. history I like a lot is the espionage tactics, or earlier
but they did that
in the early colonization of the United States, before the Revolutionary War happened. I was really fascinated all the technology to use and how to communicate it.
Like, to me, all that stuff came from all East. All of it came from Africa, from the Middle East, from Japan, from all these different from the Mongol area of China. All this communication stuff came from there, and all they did was just adapt it for what they needed there. So to me, the discovery and the ingenuity that Byzantinians had to come up with whenever they had to deal with the problems that were occurring in that empire is more important to me than the spies and the revolutionary that happened in the US side. Like, I think because it became more tactical and more breakdown of how are we going to make this thing work, that I love Eastern history more than U.S. history.
Because it came first.
Because it not only did it came first, it was built from nothing. And so watching it being built from nothing, they had to come up with those tactics.
But what about the tactics that came from nothing in...
I don't think it did. I think that's the thing.
I can give examples, but I won't give you details.
But I feel like in U.S. history,
Yeah.
it's been kind of part and parcel. They've learned, like all colonies, they learn from predecessors and built on that.
Sure.
But it's all diverged down to just industry, and it became boring.
Yeah,
so whenever we talk about war themes, World War I and World War II don't interest me. But if we go back and we talk about Roman occupation, if we talk about Hannibal moving from Algeria coming up to almost destroy all of Rome,
with building some walls.
Hadrian's Wall, all those things, all that interests me. So if there's a war themed game based around that, I'll play it.
So what games where you have to manage a supply chain?
Hadrian's Wall, I love it.
Well, that is a lot of work. Games have that.
Well, it's a supply chain game, and so I like it.
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
that I like.
So yeah, maybe you do like them, but you have this thought of American being industrialized, so you don't want to have the supply chain in that.
I just don't. I just find the entire topic boring.
But you just said you like supply chain.
No.
Right, sorry.
U.S. history. U.S. history.
Right, but like if you have a game based upon,
it's still U.S. history.
It's just because it's
simple
U.S.
for me. I just don't want to kill people.
Interesting. Okay.
Unless it's not wrong.
Okay. But the exact same game, but you put in anything else.
If you put it anywhere else, I'll play it. And I think it's because of what Jen said. We're history class. I was born in history class with U.S. history.
Sure.
That maybe some weird part of my brain is saying.
Yeah.
Where some weird.
I don't know. That might already be
saying,
happening.
If it has to do with U.S. history, I'm not interested.
Okay.
Like, I think that's probably the key of it, that history classes ruined me.
Because I'm a sucker for ancient history. I love ancient history.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
But anyway, Jen,
you were saying something? Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no. I whatever I said. No, I was talking about the aliens taking over. I said I think they already are, but
I don't know. But I don't know if anybody else feels that. I mean, when Jen said, like, yeah, a lot of people in class don't like history class. I was cool in history class until we got to U.S. history, and it was like, all right, well, let's talk about how the robber barons came about, and Carnegie became this railroad jerk, and then let's talk about the banking of the Biltmore people, and I'm like, oh god, I don't care.
Greg, to answer your question, yes, Sirens is a war supply chain game. That's true. Yep.
It's underwater, so I'll play it. It has nothing to do with U.S. history.
But I mean, even so, like when I was student teaching, like this past semester, one of the unit when I took over was World War I. Yay me, cause I don't know. But anyway, but even just like freshmen in high school, trying to make it interesting and relevant, also for them, like a lot of people just aren't interested, right? And so I guess that was just kind of, my point. And so I think it's just the same as any other thing. Some people don't want to play space games. Like some people aren't over fantasy, like they're over it. I think so for war themed games, I think that's going to be a thing. War themed games for me isn't like I need to have it,
right.
But depending upon kind of what the story is, because hopefully there's a story, otherwise I'm probably also not playing it, or the mechanics of it are going to make a difference for me. Like I'm never going to say I'm not going to play a game because of the theme, but the actual war games, I personally have not played enough of them to probably really have an opinion. But one, I don't really like killing people unless it's self-defense. Growing up, playing Sid Meier's Civilization, I never went to war, but you better believe if you sneak attacked me, you were going down hard. Like and so that might be one of the things for me is I just don't like, I'll play Fallout. So yeah, if you shoot me first, then I'm going to take you out. But I just don't like the idea, even in a game, of harming other people, whether it's a chit or a mini or, whatever. So that's, well, I shouldn't, like people. So, and people that could have actually existed. Like, I'll take out an orc, fine. But I think it's the humanity aspect of it for me that is just not something I'm gonna jump to. I'm not saying I wouldn't play the games, but just not. It's not going to be my first choice. Because it's just too deep. I mean, maybe it's also from studying history. Like, to me, I can make the connections with real events, real people, and things like that. And it's just too real for me.
Yeah, well, Chris asks, what about American history from the perspective of the oppressed? I live that every day, Chris. I don't need to play a game with it.
Yeah, that's 100% where education in Michigan is going, is giving voices to those people. So at least, and it's really funny, there was a study somewhere about there's textbooks, some that came from one state were made in like Texas and some that were made in California. Same topics, same company making the textbooks, but the language and the voices kind of whatever are very different. So depending upon which states you lived in, growing up in the US was dependent upon which textbook version you got.
Yeah.
And it's very different, but history needs to start bringing that up. So like there was that one game that won the award, an award at, oh gosh, it was on Western expansion. And they make no mention of the fact that, people had actually lived there. And now they're retheming the game because of that outcry. But it's just kind of unimaginable that this game won an award. And I know this is completely now off topic, but won this award on Western inspection. It's called Crowded Frontier. And the whole game is this, and never mind all of the people that were murdered for Western expansion to happen. The game is being rethemed.
Yeah.
So I want to point out that comment that Max had here, which I've heard from other people as well. Oops, that moved on me. I hate games about real wars that are recent, which I find interesting distinction. I've heard that from others.
Probably because there's a correlation.
That was it for me when I was studying.
Yeah, because like, what is recent and how long? Like, is it another 100 years? Would you then feel okay about World War II, for example?
For me, it was always within the age range of my grandparents being alive. So for me, like in high school and early adulthood, I did not study World War I or World War II, but Civil War I was okay with. But to me, it was if my grandparents lived through it and experienced it personally, then that was just too close for me.
That could be a factor.
I can see that. Yeah. To me, it's almost the opposite, where I would want to know more about what they went through to associate with them. You know,
like Civil War stuff. I don't like the theme personally because it makes me mad.
Yeah, I don't like Civil War stuff either, but
it makes me mad. The entirety of the Civil War pisses me off, so I stay away from Civil War themed games.
I do too now, and just the topic in general. Usually just gotta leave that alone.
Yeah, I won't dive into that on this because we don't have the audience for that discussion. But it's just different that's topic. The reason why I don't touch Civil War games. With World War II, World War I games, it's just, I don't know. I mean, even all that stuff starts in Europe, right? All of it, and the U.S. gets pulled in, but after a certain point.
No, I mean, there's also stuff in the ocean too. Forgot about that battle.
Yeah, Battle of Midway.
So it's not always your.
Well, I mean, in terms of it, where the conflict began.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So I think it's just more when we get to those themes of. I know a lot of people love those war themes. For me, when it ranges into, all right, well, it's this period of history, that I think that's where I'm like, eh.
Yeah, because Commands and Colors is a very popular war game system. Very, very easy to approach and get into. and there's a lot of different versions of that one. But the one I liked the most of that one was the ancient one. So I enjoyed the like the whole battle marathon fascinated me, and how that battle enacted, and why we call marathons now, right? Because the
guy had to run.
He had to run.
Yeah, he had to run. Yeah,
to tell people.
And then he died. He got there. We won, and then he died.
Yep, exactly. So like those stories are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And hearing about like how do you the strategies in that the movement is interesting.
Yeah. That's why I was like, pre hostile takeover. Sorry, colonization. I like history.
So,
I can talk about colonialism all day too.
Yeah,
that's.
I have some thoughts.
I'm with you, Elaine. I'm the same way. Where like, you want to be respectful of recent stuff, but at the same time, it can help. But it can help being respectful because you kind of get an idea of like what happened. And yes, you can read a book, you can watch a movie, you can do other things, to go to a museum, whatever, to learn that stuff too. But there's just a lot of ways to understand that information. So
I do think though that war games or games with the theme of war are a good way to, like, because obviously like I was really big in the idea of board games in a classroom, or like a club or whatever that can tie what students are learning in class to like a game. And I'm not saying sometimes gamifying things is a whole different topic, but to kind of do that, I think that from at least an educational standpoint, I do think that war games definitely have a place and are valuable, which I meant to say earlier and I totally forgot.
Sure.
Yeah, they do. I agree with her.
But yeah, and I think we might be wrapping up to the end of this anyway. But I always thought it was an interesting comment out here from lots of people. I know it came up last week when Derek brought it up, but it's definitely not the only place I've heard it, and I'll definitely hear in the future. But like, how the war-themed games are generally a turnoff, and I was always curious about that because mechanically, those games are similar to a lot of other games that people like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games, a lot of pieces there, and so like it's not necessarily the mechanics, though they can be. Like looking at tables, I can understand that. I like a war game. That's a very different mechanical game than a lot of other games out there. But like, what about that theme detracts from people? And there's a lot of good reasons for feeling that way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it was said earlier in chat, and I'm sorry, now I can't remember who said it, that sometimes like gaming for a lot of people is just kind of a way to relax and de-stress and whatever. So a heavy topic like that isn't, what they're going to go for. And I think the example is they want to, have bees make honey and for their whatever.
Snow, yeah.
So but just kind of that. So, or in the same with movies, like. Right. If you go to the movies to just kind of whatever, you might go see Inside Out 2 and not Schindler's List.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, I literally, I almost never skip school. I skipped school when we were like watching Schindler's List because I just knew that was going to be way too upsetting for me. And I just didn't want to be present for class those days. I think that's also just an amazing point is if you are trying to, this is your escape from the reality or what's going on in the world and from the news, all of that, then maybe you're going to play A Gentle Rain unless you have OCD and you have a copy like mine.
It's kind of scary. You're not bitter. You're not angry about that at all.
I maybe only mentioned it for like 4 minutes in my 9-minute video. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I just think that's a really great point. So yeah, if it's not a topic you're drawn to or a theme you're drawn to or a mechanism you're drawn to, then it's just maybe not the lightest, happiest topic for your Sunday afternoon.
I think that's a good point that where you say people a lot of, and we've heard a lot of people say when other themes have come up in board games is that people are like, this is my escape. The world is a fireball of poo and I don't want to deal with it, so I want to escape to my board games and I don't want it to be in my board game. So we've heard people say that. Whether we agree with it or not, it's still, that's their experience and they want to they want to not have to deal with that, so this might not be the theme for them. So I get that. Yeah, Jen, good point, Jen.
So yeah, so I think it kind of goes back to, I think Steve said earlier that, or when you Derek or Steve and Derek were talking earlier, that if you took like the mechanics, mechanisms, whatever of war games, but you put a completely different theme on it, would people be more receptive to it? I think so. I think I would be. I mean, I would have to play more war games, but then like we have like Root, right? So I think if I do think that for war games, it's the combination of the mechanics and it's the combination of the theme that's hard for people. So, because both of them, if you don't like the mechanic, then obviously that doesn't work. If you don't like the theme, then if we change the theme, I do think wargaming as a whole, more people would enjoy if the theme isn't World War II.
Mm-hmm. Good. Cool. Well, I think that's going to end our chat for today.
So I'm going to play Spirit Island eventually. I got Horizons.
You haven't played Spirit Island yet?
I know we had this conversation like 6 months ago. And
it's like we talked about this.
I know it hurts your soul every time.
Every time I hear it.
I know it hurts your soul every time, but I want you to know that I have purchased Horizons and I am going to play it.
Horizons is good. That's a good intro.
It's really good.
That's a good intro
to
Spirit Island.
Yeah, I figured I wanted the inexpensive intro before the expensive intro, which I can buy on Steam for like $10.
No, that was definitely,
especially playing solo.
Start the game. So
no, you need to just dive headlong and pick up like 30 different choices that you have to make and go from there.
But honestly, the theme for Spirit Island, though, is getting the colonizers out is like the major driver for me.
and you know what was funny when Steve was teaching me that game? He was like, "Yeah, the minis are a specific hue for a reason." I was like, "Oh."
Or even like Maracaibo, I only got once they had the Uprising expansion of getting them out. Like, sometimes theme matters.
Yeah. So, whatever your proclivities are, there's a theme and genre for you. It's, you enjoy what you enjoy and don't let anybody tell you different.
Yep. So what else you got? Oh, you got Spirit Island coming, Jen. What else do you have coming up for you recently?
Oh, I mean, I haven't even unboxed that. That's not like coming.
Oh, okay.
it
got me excited.
It's in the house.
It should be the next thing you play.
I did a poll for Feast for Odin or Spirit Island, like which one first, and Feast for Odin won. So I have to finish unboxing that. I have no idea what's coming. I took a little break this week. Now that our summer vacation just started Wednesday, so I didn't film anything, but I'm keeping on my small box summer. So more of that. I don't remember what videos I have going up this week. I have 2, I think. I have 1. I probably should record something. Probably do that. I have no idea what's coming this week. I don't know. I've just been like gone for a week.
Speaking of recording something, I know, Baron, you've been trying to record something lately. So.
Yes, I'm working on Mr. President. It's all set up and ready to go. I'm going to record that. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. We've been, again, summer has started, so we've been all hanging out a lot more as family, which is pretty awesome. Instead of going to bed at 7:30 at night. So it's been kind of cool. We've been watching some shows together and things like that. So it's been really fun. But
I totally been
doing my summer big box is what I'm continuing. My summer big boxes. So that's anything that I can barely lift is what I put on the table
now. Well, I did get like a giant, like a whole bunch of Button Shy games, like all at the same time. And so I'm like, so that's just been like my go-to. And then Gentle Rain came and I did Micro Moonshine. And I'm just like, wow, it's just small box summer. It's just the way things arrived.
Yeah, you have the same type of style as my wife. She likes small box.
Well, I didn't know I did. I never played a Button Shy until like a month ago.
I also have an unboxing coming soon. I'm getting my myth stuff on Tuesday, so I'll be getting all the myth stuff.
So they're big box. Isn't that all your video games?
all my games are big box.
But I was curious. I want to ask you real quick, Barrett. I know Mr. President is a longer play. Do you record the full playthrough in one go, or do you piece it out?
My goal, I think, is going to be to do 1 year at a time.
Okay.
I think is what I'm going to do.
Okay. Cool.
So it'll probably take me a few days to get the year done, and then I'll edit it all together and have it up, and then do YouTube. Yeah, if I were to do all 4 years in one sitting, like Derek said, it'd probably be a 6-hour video.
Yeah, they can be really long for sure. So cool.
I mean, I could cut it down by just going like, next thing is Russia activates. Russia gets 3 actions. It does this. It does this. It does this. It does it. Like, but I'm not that way. I have to like be like, okay, so Russia's going to do this, but when they do this, it's going to happen. It's going to affect this, and this. Like, I record very similar to the way Derek does, where it's like I kind of explain what's going on as opposed to just doing it.
Sure.
Because if you do it, you'd probably be done in about 2 hours. do it. It goes a lot faster.
Speaking of Mr. President, I know Derek, you've got that going on your channel right now.
Yes, I've recorded 1 year already. It took me 5 days to do it, and recording 1 year, I probably would say that entire year took about 7 hours, broken up over days, which after editing, because there's the what am I gonna do? Oh, I didn't hit the unmute button.
Oh, that makes me cry when that happens.
So let me roll all that back and start over. That die rolled off the things that happen that you see during live streams, like editing all that out condensed it down. So I think it's at about, there's 10 episodes for that entire year. Every single column was an episode, and the episodes ranged between 30 to 50 minutes each. So
I will never play this game, will I?
But I got it all done. I got it recorded. I have it scheduled on episodic every day releases at noon. So the comments that come in, I'm usually like, yeah, I've already recorded that. I'm just going to add that to the Klingon subtitles.
You'd be interested, Jen, at how fast the game moves and how much fun you have playing it.
But Barrett, to that point, I had more fun playing it with Barrett than I did by myself.
I could see that.
But by myself was still fun, but it was more fun, and I think that Mr. President is a really fun 2-player game. I think that's where it wins, because when we were playing, it was not only it's both of us talking about what would be smart to do next, and the conversation between those two made it an enjoyable experience.
A lot of the times, our conversation about what to do next usually wasn't smart at all.
That's true. That's true.
You should do this. Well, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Boom. Actually, I don't think that was the best plan. Oh well, that's okay. Let's see what happens.
Maybe more fun to play than to film. Maybe.
I think like I definitely would play that game again very easily, but I would say I would want to play it with one of y'all.
It sounds like Game of Palooza for the next time you're going to set up Mr. President and just play it.
The whole weekend.
No, they'll just be setting it up the whole weekend.
It took me 1 hour to set the game up.
Yeah. It takes 1 hour to set up. That's actually why I've been waiting till this moment to record it, because Colin is unable to do live recordings for 2 weeks. So I had this whole span. Of course, now I'm already down a week, and I still haven't started because I was finishing Dawn of Badness, which I do have the finale recorded. It's going to come up hopefully this weekend sometime. We'll see if I have time. We have like a lot of family stuff going on Father's Day, so we're doing that on Sunday, cleaning and everything. Our chores. We do have our chore day today, and of course, been hanging out together as families a lot, doing a lot of fun stuff. So we'll see if I get a chance to finish editing that. But the Dawn of Madness finale is up. That game was awesome. I was way more impressed by that game than I thought I'd be, because I thought it'd be very confusing, but it actually moves really fast and it's really fluid, and it actually is very tense. And I was really excited for how that was.
Cool. Yeah.
I was talking to Mike as he was playing through it as well, and he was pretty much messaging me saying almost the exact same thing. I'm super impressed with this game. This game's actually really fun. I can't believe it. And he goes, I had to play it a different way though, because sometimes I'm in encounters too much, or fighting monsters too much, as opposed to wanting to be in the encounters, which is what you want to do because you want to read the story and know what's going on. But you have all these things coming after you, so you have to deal with those. So some people you wonder if there's too much of having to deal with the monsters monsters versus the encounters, but actually the amount of time you're dealing with the monsters balances really well with the encounters, because you have to get to 40 points, but you want to take care of the encounter. These monsters, because, oh my gosh, there's so much coming at you. You never have enough time. Oh my God, you never know what you're going to do. Also, you get to the end, like, oh, I only have like 28 points on like 2 turns left. Am I going to get to the end? Oh no, there's another hysteria on the board. I think I'm going hysterical. It was really cool to see all this. I mean, I will say, when you watch the playthroughs, that playthrough of mine, the amount of time it took me to record that was probably double what it took me to think about what I was going to do for those turns, to make sure I was kind of maximizing what I was doing and making. But of course, sometimes the dice wouldn't roll the right way. And like, well, that sucked. Okay, I don't know. Now I got to redesign my plan. I mean, it's very similar to a lot of games. It's like you have a plan going forward, then of course 10 turns down, you're like, well, this plan is going out the window. So you have to just
I don't want to put people off of trying Mr. President, because
I do want to try it.
It's a fun game, and it's very procedural. Like, moving through that game is not complicated.
No,
it's not complicated at all. It's just there's a lot of decisions.
I actually describe this, since we're talking about war themes, I actually think of this as a war game type concept, because there's so many different books and tables and things like you'd think about in your old war games where you're moving chips around. What do you know, Mr. President? All chips on a board, and you're like adding chips, removing chips, making chips harder, making chips easier, and having to deal with certain things. Oh, do I have to deal with the Southeast Asia? Am I going to deal with South America? Do I got to deal with the stuff at home? What's my priorities as I'm playing? It's almost kind of like the old war games where you're like, okay, there's a big tank division up in the upper right corner. Do I deal with that, or do I deal with, I only have 3 actions to do the stuff I need to? So it actually, like Derek says, very procedural, and which reminds me of the old war games that I used to play a ton of. So
and what's really cool about it, now that this is the reason why I said I think people will like the game. It's a good game. I think 2 players where it sings. The interesting thing about it, someone asked me when I was telling them about it, they were saying, why is it always that in any type of games like this, that it's the US and Russia head-to-head type of thing? And I was like, well, in this game, it's not. The entire world activates.
Yeah.
Because South America activates. Africa activates. Every single thing, every single region of the world has a turn in that game.
And they focus on China and Russia as the ones that activate most, because they have, I believe the way they think of it is those 2 countries have the most way of influencing the world. Is the reason why those have a longer turn than some of the other countries in the world. Every other country in the world kind of only gets like 1 or maybe 2 actions, and they're either with you or kind of doing stuff on their own. Where the Russia and China have a ton of actions, and they kind of need it, because otherwise you have to take actions away from America, because a lot of the stuff you're doing is not maybe countering kind of some of the stuff they're doing, but also implementing some of the stuff you want to have implemented so that you can be a good president.
I want to see if you can pass a bill, Barrett. I'm so interested for your playthrough, because Congress sucks. So.
Oh, I'm going to pass that bill so fast.
But I think y'all would like it anyway.
Well, and I started on the normal difficulty, so I'm probably going to go downhill pretty quick, because you're supposed to.
So you're doing your next up is a recording of that and an unboxing of Myth. That's what you got coming.
Oh yeah, yep. I said that like 40 minutes ago, and now it finally came back around. That's what I got coming up.
Cool. What do you got?
More Mr. President releasing until all the episodes are done. Start the recording of Cthulhu Death May Die for the next series after that, for season 1 of that. Then 11 I'm going to be bringing to the table again. I love that game. So I'll be playing 11, and then Tales from the Red Dragon and continuing, and whenever Marvel United Season 3 decides to show up,
July.
That's when that will be all we'll be playing, right?
July. Yep.
So full coverage on both channels.
Yeah.
I want to get back to Primal, but I'm waiting on Pac-Man for people who I can share this now, but Pac-Man just became a new dad, first-time dad. So he is being a dad for the time being, and I told him I wouldn't play Primal until he comes back. So he said he's coming back, and when he does, we'll continue on with our Primal playthroughs.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
going to be switching, or trying to sneak it in. Flame and Fang, I want to get covered before United arrives. So I'll be switching to that probably next week, Wednesday. I need to get the jump start for that one first. That jump start shouldn't be too bad to do. And I want to start that series. And I have got reviews that I'm behind on. I got a review for Slay Spire and Leviathan Wilds.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
And I know Danny played. She has Flame and Fang on her channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Danny Chow. She has Flame and Fang on her channel, but she also has a lot of really great content. So give it a watch.
So there's one stop. Co-op shop. I think Jason did a review for it.
Jason did one because I don't think what's his name wanted to do one for his own game.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would have been a little awkward.
It would be awkward.
But honestly,
that's game over.
I just saw both y'all are like, thank you, Yogi, because y'all didn't know what 11 was.
If you would have had him do it, it would have been great because you would definitely know that every rule was correct.
That's right. That's right.
You could totally have learned from that video.
Well, actually, that's not always true because I've actually played with a lot of designers who, because they've had so many iterations, they kind of forget which is the latest iteration of the rule, right?
Yeah.
So, but yes,
I actually totally forgot. I might be doing a surprise live stream of Flame and Fang this week. We'll see.
Okay, cool.
Jen, you also have some videos that you've put up like recently. You've got Moonshine.
Oh yeah, currently doing 2 to 3 a week. Usually going to be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, but like I said, because summer started and you know, hanging out, just family, whatever. So it was 2 games this past week, and there'll be 2 this week, and then probably back to 3 a week until Gen Con, and then we will see. Last year after Gen Con, I took a month off.
Oh, actually,
I did. But I mean, last year I did Origins, and then a month later was Gen Con, and then a month after that was Grand Con. So I did 3 cons in a very short period of time. So by the time August rolled around before school started again, I was just like, and I'm done. I was cooked. Like,
that's kind of funny. I do just the opposite. I usually slow down in July just so I can have usually kind of a month off. There's usually about 1 or 2 games that come in July that I'm like, well, I really want to try this. That I usually spend that July with like my family and catching up on video games and things like that. Then go to Gen Con, come back, and I'm like, I got all these games.
I was not prepared last year. I mean, Gen Con's a lot. And like, I'm watching my calendar just slowly. Like,
speaking of which,
I'm
been
gonna be tired.
prepping for a video for that because I want to put together a video of like, here's some games to look at, here's some things to highlight, like tips and tricks for Gen Con. So
I definitely want to do like a games I'm excited to see video. So I've kind of started looking at the preview, the BGT.
So there's
somebody did a video of top 30 games looking forward to at Gen Con, and it was one of the greatest videos because every one of the games, almost all of them I hadn't heard of, and they were all very kind of like family friendly, light, like but some of them were pretty heavy kind of games, but they were a lot more, again, completely almost off the topic of like the war theme. They're all like very like fun, cute games that worked with like families and fun themes and things like that. I forget who it was and I feel terrible. I was gonna go looking for it. I'm gonna look for it now while you guys talk.
No, there's a bunch of games that I've been reading rule books of already, trying to prep for Gen Con. So I'm looking forward to it.
So when it comes to Gen Con though, the 4 of us need to congregate to talk about Saturday. And so that we can present Saturday to the masses on what the plan is. So I think the 4 of us kind of need to crowd together and talk about how that's going to play.
Yep.
So I think that's probably in the short term.
Well, I think that's going to be pretty easy. But yeah, we can talk about it more.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of logistics in it.
We'll work at details, but I don't think the public needs here.
Not the details, but just Saturday we're here and this is what it's going to be, and give them the info.
Because I was going to drop that in with the Gen Con video for sure.
Okay.
But yes, we can also announce it other places too.
Yeah.
Because we want to get that out. But yeah.
I think that's all we got for today. This is the guy.
Oh, I watched that video.
I did.
Yes, that's awesome.
I don't even know who that is.
I watched the video too.
The channel's called Bangers Project, which is a very unfortunate name for a channel. Bangers Project. It's called Gen Con 2024 30 Must See Board Games. It's this guy.
Yeah, I watched him. It was a good video.
So go
Cool.
check this video out. It's really cool. If you're interested in some games that are more like lighter and have more of a happy theme and things of that nature, and like all his games were seemed like really cool to just like sit down and play that he talked about.
Definitely.
Sorry. Okay, that was off topic.
Nope.
Or I guess maybe some chat. We can also talk about the games that we're excited about once we get a little bit closer to Gen Con as well.
My favorite game I like to play at Gen Con is Where's Derek?
Where's Derek? Is that what you said?
Where's Derek is my favorite game to play.
I'm going to put a tracker on him.
I didn't hear what
it's called. Where's Derek? Derek, Where's Derek is my favorite game. You'll never find him.
That's a Gen Con exclusive. That's a Gen Con exclusive, Aaron.
Exclusive game. Only if you do it at Gen Con. The funny thing is, you never know what booth it's at. You got to try to find the game. It's randomly at a booth that doesn't have a publisher.
If I'm 9 feet tall, like you say, you should have had no problem finding me.
I mean, I found him multiple times. I don't know what happened with you all.
The booths were 18 feet tall. It was hard to find you over the booths.
Be safe, Yogi. The drop bears are dangerous. Oh, I love the drop bears. They're so fun. All right. Anyway, I think it's going to end it for today. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next time at the Guild.